Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, which is the first in our Boost Your Business series designed to highlight how Construction Online can help boost your business in the upcoming new year and beyond. Today's session will spotlight how Construction Online can help protect your business. I'm Holly Gibson, Senior Product Specialist here at UDA Technologies.
I'm Drew Arrington. I'm a product specialist here as well.
And today we are really excited to have you join us. We are going to be discussing today why up-to-date insurance and permit tracking is critical for your business, how to manage that, the advantages of using Construction Online to document that information as well as other project data, and talk about some exclusive features and functionality that are only found in Construction Online business versions and above. Now, as we get started, I do want to point out, as we're spotlighting protection today, we know that Construction Online and just using software in general can really help protect your business overall with all of the documentation and record keeping that it provides. But in today's session, we really want to highlight a few key areas that have been specifically designed to help you reduce liability in your company. Now, when we think about why this matters, it's something that's a really important. Some of the areas that we'll be looking at today: insurance, permits, documenting what's going on the job site, can protect your business from being exposed to financial damages in the form of fees and fines and even lawsuits that can really kind of come in and hurt your bottom line, can hurt that profitability on your projects. We really want to look at areas that are designed specifically to protect from those. Because one of the things that we have learned from talking to clients over the years is that oftentimes it is not just about whether or not you have a permit for a project or whether or not your subcontractors have insurance. It's, do you have that information documented? Can you pull it quickly if you need to? What if someone comes and asks about it, say a year down the road? You're faced with something where you really need to have that information handy. Where is that coming from? So we want to look at not only, hey, why is it important to track this information, but why is it important for you to have it organized and handy and make sure that you're able to access that at any time?
Yeah, and one thing that this can help with is make sure that your expiration dates are known to your company and to your subcontractors, for especially for those insurance policies, because a lot of times people can have uh, an active insurance policy when a project starts, but then it'll have an expiration date maybe during a project or the project gets delayed. And so this is going to help make sure that you don't get in trouble because a subcontractor or is not insured or it expires during the job time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. A lot of times those are things that we're looking at in the beginning of a project, but maybe really need to be able to pay attention to throughout just really the life of the project and the life of the business. Same thing with permits. So we'll also be taking a look at permit tracking today. Often when those permits are being pulled in the beginning, there's, a lot of activity there, but we do want to make sure that that information is always accessible. So a couple of years down the road, you need to go back and grab it. That's going to be available for you. So as we dive in, we're going to get started today, really jumping straight into insurance and certificate tracking. And just taking a look at how you can use Construction Online to really manage these areas in your business and in your projects.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're taking a look at our insurance and certificates module. And so here we have the table that you can look at, and also up above you'll see an expiration dashboard. And so this is a quick way to view your information. And even if you click on this dashboard, it'll automatically filter your insurance policies down below. For example, right now we have it unfiltered, but if you click on the top, you can filter it between the ones that expire less than 30 days. So these are the ones that you really need to pay attention to. With these views, you can also, there's an expiration tracker on the actual policies that you can look at. And so you can get a quick look and see how close these policies are to being expired, or maybe they have a long time to go, or even the ones that are expired, it'll automatically show you there and bring your attention to them, and you'll see it in red. You can also look at tags and different companies or employees that are insured, the different types of insurance there. And this is something that can be a good use for the group buy tool as well. And so maybe you want to quickly look and see all of the insurance policies that you have for a certain insured resource or a project or potentially a status that you may have. You can sort and see all the ones that are compliant and the ones that are in progress potentially. So you can get a quick look and view those things in there as well.
Yeah, it's a great use for some of those organizational tools on the table. Now, I will say, as we look at, okay, how do we get this information in? That's really easy. It's just going to be a matter of filling out the form to add a new policy. We're not going to go through all of those steps today, but I do want to highlight a few details here. So if we just click on the details for one of these insurance entries that we have in Construction Online, a few things that I want to just point out. Of course, all the information that we just saw in the table here is going to be contained and with a little more detail in this details tab, so I can see, who is my insured resource or project, whether the policy is active, and of course, I can change all of that here as well. We're also looking at things like not only expiration dates, but if you need to record a policy number or for liability, maybe you need to plug in an amount, you can go ahead and just add that information right in. But one of the biggest things here that you can do as well is add attachments. So when you are getting those actual insurance certificates, you can just drag and drop those right into this tab here. Then you'll have all the information stored in one place. You can also make notes. So you'll see those here. And I also want to just point out that those notes are going to be available in the table. This is just a great way to make a quick little entry. Maybe you called to follow up about getting updated information. You can just make a quick note in there so that the next time that you're looking at this screen, you have that information handy. Now, I know Drew, and some of the clients that you've worked with, one of the things that we've seen people really use very heavily with this tool is the reminder system. And I do think it's probably one of my favorite things about how the insurance tracking and Construction Online works.
Yeah, I would definitely say that we hear that this is one of the most valuable features of the insurance and certificate system. So with these reminder recipients, you can choose an internal recipient and external. So with the internal, you can choose an employee to receive reminders for all certificates. So usually, maybe that's you, the business owner. And then you can also choose someone to receive it for this specific certificate, right? And so maybe you have a certain employee or maybe like a project manager who's working on this job that this certificate is related to. They can receive a reminder for that as well. You can also include external recipients. And so this is going to be those subcontractors that you would want to get a reminder that their insurance policy is due to expire soon. And so with these, you can also, there's different reminder settings that you can do. And so you can do repeating reminders, once reminders. There's also email templates that you can set. So we have some that are already in the system, but you can also create custom ones as well. And you can set these to send daily. You can set them to send on weekdays or weekly, and then custom amount for how many days out for an expiration date. And you can, like I said, you can send it once, repeating, or after it's expired as well. So a lot of customization there for you to keep everyone on the same page of when this insurance policies are going to expire.
Yeah, what we've seen in some systems is that a reminder will come out until the insurance expires and then it sort of stops. So if you don't have updated information, you really want to make sure that something is continuing to go out, reminding your resources or reminding your internal team members to go ahead and follow up on that and make sure that that information does get updated. One thing I'll point out here as well is that this reminder system gives you so much control over how those resources um, receive the reminders. So you are able to, like Drew mentioned, you can really use the templates that we provide. But if you want to include additional information about perhaps how a subcontractor could provide, more up-to-date information, you could create a template that said that. You also have, Drew, like you mentioned, you have that option to choose who is going to receive those. And I'll point this out because sometimes, feedback that we've had has been, well, I don't know if I want the subcontractor to get the reminder. Maybe I just want that to go to whoever is doing that internally. If that's how you want to do it, you can definitely have that control. Most do want their resources to receive those so that they're getting those reminders, and you can set that up as well. So there's a ton that you can do on the reminder front. I do want to, as we're looking at this, this is really your command central for managing those insurance and certificates, but there are a few other places where this information is going to start to show up. So one of the things that you'll notice is we have, of course, resources assigned to all of these, who the policy is for. If we were to go and just say, look at one of these contacts in just our regular contact list, we are going to have some visibility on that insurance information there as well. So we'll just grab one of our resources, jump into their contact timeline, and what you'll notice is that right at the top of the timeline, those upcoming activities or expirations are going to sit right here at the top. So I can see for Randy Watts here, upcoming, we have a couple of expirations happening. Expiration date, the end of this month, and that's just sitting right there at the top of his contact details. So that'll be visible not only to me if I'm going in purposely looking for insurance information, but if I'm just looking at this contact in general, I'm still going to see the insurance information for them.
Yeah, that's a great way to view it. I know we've talked a lot about maybe like liability insurance or workers' comp, but another great use for this is also just project insurance, and you are more than able to have an insurance policy for a project and use that within the insurance um, tracking module. And it'll also show in the project timeline as well, just like Holly was talking
Yeah, so it could be for a project and resource together combined, or it could just be either or. So it could be just for a project or just for resources. I've also seen people use this tool to manage even internal insurance, so things like automobile insurance for their company vehicles or things like that. So there's a ton that you can do with it. I will point out here as well, we're really focusing on the insurance, but you'll notice that there are several additional tabs. If you are a user of a Construction Online Business or Enterprise version, you will have the option to also track things like licenses, bonds, and certifications. So this is great for tracking those additional types of compliance that we might need from our resources, whether that's internal or external. And it really works the same way. You're able to add resources and projects to those, set up those reminder systems. So it's a great tool really for managing all of that type of information in one place.
about. Yeah. So now we'll take a look at our permit tracking module, and this will be kind of how we can track permits within Construction Online. And you'll see a notice that there's a lot of similarities here just in this general table view. Um, you can quickly view your data here and different, obviously this is adjustable to you and move things around. Um, there's also going to be a group by view where you can sort by maybe here you're looking more the requested status rather than expiration dates. You can also do it by permit type and maybe even associate it by the project that you are working with here as well. So you have multiple permits for a single project. Quick way to view that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There are so many similarities, and that's one thing. We try to focus on making these tools easy to use. So if you learn how to use one, you're really learning how to use the other. So working with and managing those permits is very easy. A couple of things just to note here on the permit area. What we see is on the insurance side, very often it's kind of at the end of that insurance life cycle where we're managing those expirations that things get a little bit tricky. With permits, we found that it's kind of the opposite. It's right there at the beginning when we are trying to get the permit issued. So, kind of what is that gap of time between when the permit was requested, when it was issued, who's followed up on it? And so, a lot of the additional field and tracking specific to permits are going to be centered around that. So, you'll notice when I'm looking at my requested permits, I can see, of course, an expiration for sure, but I can see what date we requested the permit. If it's been issued, I can plug that date in as well. Who the agency is that's issuing the permit, maybe a county or city agency, who my contact is there. Just like with the insurance, we can make notes. So if maybe the person that we need to talk to is on vacation until Monday, that can get noted here. So whoever's looking at it knows really what the status is and where everything falls. You do have, as well, just like with the insurance, the ability to do things like make a permit active or inactive, add those attachments in, as well as set up, the same types of reminders as well.
Yeah, and you also have the same customization options with the reminders, so templates and things of sorts. You'll be able to do that as well, just like you did with the insurance. One thing that is good to view is in the project table specifically is a quick way to view your permits. And so quickly here, you can see that there is a table or a section or column in the table for permit count. And you can see quickly how many permits you have for each project. And you can even click into that and view them from there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. With this, what our goal is to give you not only a place to record information about the permits and be able to track that, but of course make sure that that information is visible to the team. So again, just like with insurance, if someone comes to that permit tracking area, you will be able to see that information front and center, but we know that often you do need to access it, not only, within that tool, but when you're just looking at the project. So you'll see that here. And then if we go into a project, so if we just, click on one of our jobs here, that permit information is going to be available on the timeline, just like the insurance information is. So we'll see that information recorded. You'll see that in the project history, and then of course, if you go into your project details, that is going to be in the permit tab there as well. So you don't necessarily have to go straight just to the permit area to see the information on these permits, and that is going to be just saved as part of the project. One more thing that we've seen people do, and I'm so glad that we built this into the permit tool, because we know that a lot of times with permits, the management can start really before the job is even a sure thing. You're already thinking about what's going to have to be pulled. So those permits can be saved as part of your project templates. So when you are creating a project from a template, and we definitely recommend taking advantage of that and templating out what you can, permits can be included. So if you know for every job you are going to always have to request, a general building permit, maybe you need to request permits for different trades like HVAC or plumbing. Those can just be built as part of the project template, so that as soon as you open up that job, go ahead and plug in the details. The permits are automatically entered into the tracking system. You can even have the status read something like, needs to be requested or something like that. So you can see exactly which ones are coming into the system brand new. And you're really doing a great job of managing that permit information from the very beginning of your project.
Yeah, the templates are a great way to take advantage of just time saving capabilities in construction online. So, some of the advantages of using a software, especially construction online, versus maybe a paper method to keep track of these things, or maybe just general files, um, are going to be that you can have it all in one place. So you can easily search data from a job or a specific day on the job. That's going to be more, we'll speak more on that with daily logs in just a second. This information is going to be accessible from anywhere. So on the go, you can access it from anywhere, especially even on your phone, from the mobile app as well. The automated reminders are going to be a great value for you and that you can't get by using paper documents or documentation. Um, to stay up to date and keep everyone on the same page at those expiration dates and even like request uh, status, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will point out as well, Drew, those reminders that we looked at for permits and insurance, we're also adding those to other tools. So those have recently been added to, say, like change orders, for example. So that type of communication is definitely something that goes into documentation and protecting your business from liability, and certainly is something that we're adding throughout the system as well. I want to talk for a moment too, just when we think about general general protection of a project and general protection of a business, in addition to what we've looked at with insurance and permits, there are a few other just really easy, sort of simple ways to get started with that in construction online. So a couple of the things that I always think about: number one, photos. That is probably one of the easiest things that you can do, and people don't always think about that as protection or liability. But here's the thing: in construction, and we've heard this story, so many times, and I've had the pleasure of being like on job sites with some of you, and even hearing these discussions in real time. What happens is, of course, things are built, and so a lot of the things that are happening inside the walls are going to be covered up. If you are just in the habit, or have your team be in the habit of just adding even 5 or 10 photos per day, just documenting what's been done. All they have to do, take the picture, upload it into the system. That is really adding an extremely powerful layer of liability protection to your project, just by having those visual records. Because something written down, a note that says, hey, this got done, is not the same thing as a photograph showing that indeed it did get done, and here's exactly what it looked like. No one's having to go and tear a wall back out to prove that something happened a certain way, or that wiring was done a certain way. So doing those photographs, as we talk about all sorts of different ways to track, come back to the basics. Doing something just like pictures is going to add, so much protection on, and really give you a great way to just to get the most value out of construction online overall.
Yeah, and a great way to make sure that those photos are taken, like you said, every day or however often you need them to be, is going to be using the daily logs. And we actually did a whole webinar on daily logging and some of the new log types, and Holly might mention some of those in just a second. But it's really going to make sure that you, and just like Holly said, have documentation of what happened on the job site each and every day. And it's all backed up on the cloud, and it's accessible even years down the road too. So if you have maybe a bad apple or a lawsuit that maybe comes in later, someone says you didn't do the job right, you can go back to this specific day and show exactly what happened on the job site. And we even have custom log types that are available in our business plans. And so this can be an easy way to make sure that you get all the documentation to protect your business that you need.
Yeah, it's a great point, Drew. One question that we get a lot is like, hey, what's the difference between some of the different plans? So we are highlighting here some of the differences with those business level plans. All construction online plans are going to have access to these daily logs. The business level plans do add those custom logs, as well as some additional just advanced features. Probably my favorite here is the log requirement. So it's just a great way to go in and establish some standards, define which types of logs you need to have your team do on a daily basis. So set those requirements. And then again, just like with some of the other things we've looked at today, reminders can go out based on those, just to help people remember, what they're supposed to do on a day-to-day basis, make sure those things are getting done, and ultimately make sure that your business, your projects are being protected. So that wraps up our webinar presentation today on protection. Drew, I feel like we have covered a lot of information in a short period of time. So We only have about 5 minutes left. If anyone wants to chat in a question, you're welcome to do so, but we probably won't have time to go through very many. However, I encourage you to chat your questions in anyway. Drew and I will be reading through those, following up with all of you individually. We'll shoot you our contact information, establish a connection there, and we're happy to go over additional details on any of this or answer questions that you might want to go over with us. Before we wrap up, I just want to close with a couple of things here. This is the first in a 4-part series highlighting different ways and just ideas that you can use construction online and ways that you can really use it to boost your business in the new year. Today's session, of course, focused on protection, but we do have other sessions coming up over the next couple of weeks. So we'll go through those. On Monday, we will be focusing on planning. So we'll really be taking a look at project planning, especially diving into scheduling and some of the tools that you can use as part of the scheduling and calendar system. Then on Wednesday, December 11th, we will focus on project progress. So that's really going to go into more detail on how to record progress on projects, as well as task management, making sure that things are getting done, what that looks like, what communication looks like on projects. So we'll be taking a deeper look there. And then our final session is probably going to be my favorite. On December 17th, we'll be spotlighting profits. We have some great new dashboards actually coming out that we'll be able to show you guys, really focusing on profitability, looking at estimated versus actual profitability, things that you can do to get those profit numbers up. So really excited for this series. I encourage you, if you haven't already, please go ahead and register and sign up for those. We'll hope to see you there. If you are interested in any of those business level features that we've talked about today, please feel free to reach out. For the month of December, we actually have a special offer where those versions are 15% off. So you do have a special savings available to you. So if anyone is looking to get started with that, or maybe even upgrade into that version, is a great time to do it as we close out 2024 and get ready for 25. One last comment here. A couple of you, I see a few questions coming in just about recording. So all of the webinars, including today's and the ones we just went over, are being recorded. So that recording will be emailed out to you if you register for the webinar, and we'll also have it available on our website. You can find that information here under resources. If you just go to constructiononline.com under resources, you'll see an area for webinars. That's where you can find out which webinars are coming up, as well as have access to recent recordings. There's also a really great section here for other resources. So if we look at videos, I'll just point out that under the Resource Center, you will also see access to the most recent webinar recordings, as well as a library of training videos. These are really great resources and tools to use as you are working with Construction Online. But I think that wraps us up for today. So thank you again for joining, and we hope to see you guys at the next sessions next week.